Am I the a-hole for leaving an equal inheritance to my stepson as my bio kids? I, 62 male, met my current wife, 39 female, 4 years ago, and we got married 2 years ago. She has a son, 12 male, from her previous marriage who lives with us full-time. His dad visits occasionally but lives in another country. I also have 2 adult children, 34 male and 32 female, from my first marriage. I will admit I don't have the greatest track record as a father. While my bio kids were growing up, we were kind of distant, as their mother and I were constantly fighting. She was a stay-at-home mom while I was running a business to varying degrees of success. However, when they became adults, we, bio kids and I, became much closer. My business also grew a lot and I am quite wealthy now compared to struggling to pay bills when my bio kids were growing up. My relationship with my stepson is quite good. He doesn't call me dad but seems to view me as a very close uncle. I do my best to be a good father figure to him. If I'm being completely honest, I hope that eventually he will see me as a father figure, especially given that his father is never really around and constantly disappoints him. So here's the issue. A few weeks ago, while I was going through some things in the basement with my bio son and daughter, the topic of inheritance came up. I mentioned how I planned to include my stepson in my will and he would get a third of the inheritance. I don't remember how exactly we got to this topic. Well, my kids are furious with me now, telling me this was unfair, as they had to grow up with a cold, emotionally and physically distant / unavailable father who struggled to bring food to the table. They mentioned how my stepson gets to live a luxurious childhood with a much kinder and more present / emotionally available and supportive parent than they had ever had, while not even being my real son. Then on top of that, they would lose out on the inheritance they feel they had earned for working so hard to repair our relationship after all the damage I had done to them. To clarify, that's not something they said. It's something I'm trying to be cognizant of because they absolutely could have walked away, but chose to try to repair our relationship before my business was even successful, and they both had a hand in making the business successful because they were willing to help out. I can understand their point of view. They feel like I'm sliding them from my new family with a much younger wife, and what they claim as a do-over child, which is not, but I can see why they see it that way. I want to do right by my stepson, but also my bio kids who did have to put up with a lot more during their childhood than my stepson. Am I the a-hole for planning to leave an equal inheritance to him? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole without a doubt. Why are you treating some random kid that you've known for 2 minutes the same as your actual real kids who you have apparently failed over and over again? I guess you can leave him a bit, but 1/3 is ridiculous. Agreed. He has this kid in his life for a hot minute, and he's already in the will? He isn't on the same level as the bio kids just yet. I would have waited to make sure the new wife and kid actually stick around before adding them in. And the kid doesn't even see him as a father figure either, just a close uncle. Absolutely wild. You're the a-hole. While theoretically it is lovely to leave something to a stepchild, you leaving an equal share to the child of your trophy wife is really tone deaf. Your bio children are not being greedy for not being pleased by your showing once again that you are not treating them fairly. You have shown them that you, who are old enough to be this kid's grandfather, now has decided to have a new family as a do-over. Also, you do realize that your stepchild is going to wind up with more than the bio kids anyway, since you are going to leave a sizable amount to your new trophy wife and you will almost assuredly die before her given the large difference in age. The stepchild is going to inherit from his mother the amount you left to her, as well as the 1/3 directly. And I bet you are also leaving the wife your house and other valuable personal property. A lot of bio kids have been screwed out of stuff when the father takes up a new family. When my grandfather passed 2 years ago, we discovered that he had moved most major assets into solely second wife's name. So the terms of the will screwed my dad and his brothers and all the grandchildren out of basically everything. He was also a man who married a much younger woman. She was my oldest uncle's girlfriend in high school for some added drama, and was an absolute a-hole to my grandmother and their children their entire married life and beyond. We expected nothing, because he was awful, and got nothing. But that extra FU of his second family getting everything, except the token "I didn't forget you" stuff, and they don't see what the problem is the reason I'm low contact with any of that part of the family since grandma passed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for buying my nephew a gift rather than giving his parents the money? My 33 female nephew just turned 1. My sister-in-law Hannah, 34, and brother-in-law Dave, 34, are dual income and doing alright. They're firmly middle class. They own a home and go on a couple vacations a year. They decided to host a big party for their first and only child's first birthday. A little background. My husband and I are kind of known for getting good birthday gifts for nieces and nephews. They range in age from 1 to 13, and we know that the other two families struggle more financially than Hannah and Dave, who this post is about. So we have historically always asked what their child would like, and go out of our way to get them something special. I'm not talking big-ticket items like an iPad, but like $150 to $200 for each gift, each year. I asked Hannah what her son William would like, that he doesn't already have at home. She didn't answer my text, but later in the day, she sends a mass email to both sides of the family and friends who are attending William's first birthday. This was the email. Hi friends and family. We look forward to having you at William's first birthday. Some of you are asking what you can buy for him. What he really needs is a new deck to play on in our backyard. Therefore, we ask that everyone donate funds towards that goal, rather than physical gifts. The deck will cost a total of $10,000 and we anticipate that 35 of you will be attending. Please give as you're able. William will be so excited by this addition to his outdoor space. Love, Hannah, Dave, and William. So off the bat, this request sat weird with me. I understand shifting towards experience-based gifts over physical gifts. I see the environmental argument for that, and also the human element. But that's not what this was. It was a deck. And I'm fairly certain Hannah and Dave can afford this deck without a fundraiser. Anyway, the part that makes me an a-hole is that I decided to totally disregard the email and spent $200 on a new train table for William. I had noticed that I fell in love with the one at our house that our boys have. I justified it because he's too young to realize that his parents are cheating him out of gifts, as I see it. Hannah noticed the large box at a party among a pile of cards filled with money. She asked who brought it, and my husband, her brother, said, "We did." She said, "I specifically sent an email after getting your text. Did you not read it?" Husband told her to take it up with me. Later on, she told me she was really frustrated and disappointed in me because she expected we would be contributing the most to the deck, as we have more money than the other family members. I said we wanted to get something just for William. Hannah scowled and told the rest of the family that I was using her son's birthday to grandstand and make them look bad. Rest of the family split on it. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Lol, not the a-hole. This is just glorious. She expected we would be contributing the most to the deck, as we have more money. Jesus, the entitlement. Hannah scowled and told the rest of the family that I was using her son's birthday to grandstand and make them look bad. She made herself look bad by requesting that her family finance essentially in addition to her home, instead of buying a 1-year-old child some toys and outfits. He's probably just starting to walk and can't quite talk yet, but he is so excited about that new deck. My dad and stepmom had a deck remodel when my middle nephew was less than a year. He liked his blankets and toys way more than the deck itself. Not the a-hole. The deck will cost a total of $10,000 and we anticipate that 35 of you will be attending. That's a "give us $300 for home improvements" email. It's totally inappropriate. Let's chalk it up to them behaving oddly due to the stress of the current financial crisis. You buying a child's gift for a child's birthday party was perfectly appropriate. They were wrong to A. ask for a wad of cash, and B. then demand to know who dare buy their child a gift instead of giving them a wad of cash. Because she expected we would be contributing the most to the deck as we have more money than the other family members. This just gets worse. I guess it wasn't a "give us $300 email. It was a hint hint. "Stacy, you should give us $1,500 while everyone else gives us $250 email. I honestly think that the deck would be the one of those projects that's never completed, with the money going elsewhere. Then again, I'm very cynical. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not chipping in for my brother and his husband's surrogacy fund and prohibiting my parents from donating as well, since I support them financially? They live a super lavish life. In my family, I am the only one close to financially stable. My parents earned enough to have a middle-class income, but my mom was a big shopper and my dad would blow his money at the casino. Now, my parents are at an age where they can no longer work. They mainly live off my mom's pension and the money I give them every month to support them. My brother went into dance after college and his job after school was working as a retail associate at a luxury store. But he also has the same problem with his money, where all his money he spends on clothes and nights out. My brother married this guy who is 20 years older than him. Brother is 26. This guy's in his late 40s. Initially, this guy framed himself as the rich older guy, but that isn't the case. Here is the thing. They are now asking everyone to donate them money so they can pay for a surrogate in Mexico. First of all, I find this whole thing skeevy as heck with this poor woman from Mexico. But financially, these guys are going on trips left and right. They constantly lease and swap out cars. So when they asked me for money, I told them no. They tried to guilt me, and I said no, not at all. Then I get a call from my mom about taking out a home equity line of credit, and I was like, absolutely not. I told my mom and these guys that if they care about this so much, they can save up for it. And I forbid her to give money to my brother and his partner. She's like, okay then, I'll give a little bit. I tell her no. I tell her I am the one that pays their bills. If I find out that they gave a cent, I am going to cut them off as well. When my brother and his partner found out about this, they were very upset with me, and I told them I don't care. They are now calling me homophobic, etc., and that I am ruining their happy life. I told them I don't care. They can start saving money themselves, but I'm not going to spend a cent of my money to finance their lifestyle. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I don't think anyone but them should be asked to pay for their surrogacy costs. If they can't pay the surrogate fees, I wonder if they'll be able to over 18 years of child rearing costs. Opie's not the a-hole, but this rationale is always the worst. It makes no sense. Surrogacy is crazy expensive, as is IVF and adoption. Having money over 18 years to raise a child is very different than having to drop upwards of $100,000 at a one fell swoop. But again, to be clear, because I know someone will just skip right over this, Opie's not the a-hole here. It is not his responsibility to pay for his brother and his partner to have a surrogate. He already goes above and beyond for his parents, and he is not in the wrong for telling them he'll cut them off if they give his money to his brother indirectly. Not the a-hole. It is not homophobic to not want to give money to extremely financially irresponsible people. I do think you're on the fence with telling your parents what to do, but seeing as you also pay their bills, I would have done the same. The fact that they even tried to turn this into some sort of homophobia thing is disturbing. I hate when people do that. Like there is real hatred out there, and here they are throwing phobe around. Like no, I'm not meeting your financial demands. You are free to live as you like, but be a grown-up and finance your own life. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my son that I don't play favorites and to get over his jealousy? I have 2 children, Laurel 24 and Kevin 15. Laurel is from my first marriage. Kevin and my wife think that I favor Laurel, but that's just not true. They've complained about it over the years, but now it's at a boiling point. The most recent complaint is that I gave her a free house. None of their accusations have ever been true, but this one especially isn't. I've been with the same company for over 35 years. Decades ago, my job made me and several other employees travel to their headquarters so often that they bought us condos in the home city because it was cheaper at a time than constantly paying for hotels. At the time, property in the city was cheap. We had free use, but technically the company owned them and they paid all expenses. In 2020, obviously all business travel stopped. At the time, Laurel was moving to that city with her new husband and they were looking for a place. Because it was just sitting empty and would be for a long time, I told her that they could live in the condo until things went back to normal. It would be safe and clean, and it would give them a chance to save money for a better place for their own as they were expecting their first child. In 2021, 2 things happened. The company decided to shut down all physical offices for a permanent work from home, and I decided to take my retirement. With closing the physical offices, they also really wanted to get rid of the condos. They offered them to us at an extra discount. I didn't want it, but Laurel did. So she and her husband offered to pay the cost, and I let them. It was less than 1/4 of market cost, but it wasn't free or a gift to her. Kevin realizes that there's not going to be anything like that for him, and he is raging about it. He claims I've always done things like this, and that I gave her a house, but I'm probably going to kick him out at 18 like every American parent. My wife is on his side and angry about this, and that I let Laurel be a stay-at-home mother, and not her. None of these things are true. I didn't give her a free house. I let her buy one for a discount, because she happened to be buying at the exact time that there was any opportunity for one. Also, she got to be a stay-at-home mother because she happened to be having a baby at the only time in modern history that required people to stay home, not because I was funding her. I realize how it must look, but really, she just ended up doing things in special situations where there were unique opportunities. I don't think I'm in the wrong here, because I don't treat my children differently. If I happen to come across an opportunity for Kevin to do the same with the same, I would make sure he's aware, but I can't imagine I would. Not the a-hole, but honestly, I feel like your wife is the source of what Kevin is spewing out. What 15-year-old boy cares about housing? It seems like your wife is using Kevin to try and get you to buy a property in his or her name to even the scoring between Kevin and Laurel. My thoughts exactly. There just ain't no way a 15-year-old on their own would suddenly realize there's not going to be anything like that for him. Not really. Most kids these days know they will never be able to afford a home. Not the a-hole. I have a question for the wife and son. My hypothetical daughter is learning piano and my coworker has one they want rid of, so I get it at 1/4 value. My fake daughter pays for the 1/4 herself. I spend nothing. Do I now owe my hypothetical son a piano? Is that their reasoning? Or a step further, I drive my fake kids to the mall and we walk around. My daughter's favorite store has a clearance sale on, so she's able to use her own money to buy a huge load of stuff. Do I now owe my son the value of the savings she made? I can't get my head around the entitlement here. Apparently, if you're married to Opie's wife, you do owe her hypothetical son a piano, because you should have told your hypo daughter and grandchild to go pound sand and seized the opportunity for yourself so that you can give the piano for free to your son. Or if it's a house and not a piano, save it for 9 years while paying taxes on it until your son is the same age and can pay you outdatedly cheap price for it. Then, and only then, would you be doing the fair thing. Seriously. Tell me she's a wicked stepmother without telling me she's a wicked stepmother.